Alright everyone, today I'm going to show you guys how to make a roller stamp or a roulette. One of my favorite projects of the year. It's kind of just cool to make your own personal stamp that you put on your own piece that you made. Really make it stand out. We're going to be using something called Super Sculpey. And this is a polymer clay. Polymer clay is made in the factory, not come from the earth. And what's really nice about this stuff is it takes really fine textures, and also we just put in the oven for like a half hour and basically make it one day. I can fire it that night, return and see the next day. So it's a quick turnaround for your projects. You can also make real stamps out of these, not roller stamps, just stamps you stick down. And I might show it in another video, although it's kind of self-explanatory. All right, so you'll first begin the Sculpey out of the bag, and it's probably gonna look something like this. Little scraps and stuff, and it might have been sitting around for a while. So this stuff doesn't dry out until it gets fired, but in order to kind of wake it up, you do have to start working around your hands a little bit, warming that up a little bit, move around. It'll definitely soften up with just a little bit of movement. So get it softened up a little bit, and then in order to get this to start to go into the shape of roller, I just really take my hand and kind of put my palms like this and roll this. Then I just change the direction I come at, just switch a little bit. Otherwise you kind of squish it into a pancake. And also just starting to work that into a cylinder there where my fingers can hold the stamp while I stamp like this. This design, working with this material is a little bit frustrating because you'll get this into a perfect cylinder. Then you'll start to put your design on here. Once you get your design there, you might notice that you ruin the cylinder a little bit. You gotta fix that a little bit, and then you ruin your design a little bit. So you gotta have to wrestle it to the ground a little bit. But just use your patience and don't do anything drastic. Just small movements and adjustments will be great. So in order for your design to work well, first of all, it should be fairly round. That's not too bad. But more importantly is that this surface right here needs to be flat. If this is concave or convex, it will not make contact with your ceramic piece and won't stamp that well. So make sure that's flat and not rounded all the way around. So there it's sticking out a little bit. All right, so that's how to get the Sculpey ready. Now, in order to start your design, I usually just work on paper first and just make a couple designs real easy. And if I already have my stamp made, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out how tall this is and basically how one rotation, how big that's gonna be. All right, so my stamp is going to make one revolution at about that size. I can go ahead and here and make 5 or 6 designs and not spend too much time on it, but just basically brainstorm up some possibilities and put anything on here you want to do. So just have some fun, something you want to have on your piece. In order to transfer this design onto the roulette, there's a couple things you can do. I find the easiest is just divide this into quarters, and once that's divided into quarters, I just divide my piece into quarters, and I basically transfer the design by drawing into here with a pencil or needle tool, and that works just fine. The second thing you can do is if you put a lot of time in your drawing, you can work with some really heavy lead, and if you push this along that design, if you work with soft enough lead, that will tend to transfer itself to the Sculpey. I have a HB pencil, so that's not soft enough for that to work, but if you use something softer, that should work. Or just freehand it. Remember that your design has to be continuous, so as you come around a revolution, it will continue, so you might want to consider that with your design, that one end has to meet up with the other end. Okay, here's some designs that students have made in the past. Just pull these out of our bin. These are actually available to you if you want to use these as well. Some people just go for kind of random texture. This one, by the way, is really large. There's no reason to go that large. It's kind of harder to stamp, actually, and the Sculpey is fairly expensive. So I'd go smaller than this, but it is a nice stamp. My favorite stamp is this one, and it's flies, which is just kind of gross, and then this gets put on something you eat food out of or drink out of. So I think it's just a really nice juxtaposition of something kind of weird and something you normally don't see, and just well done in its design. Here's a real clean one. This is of waves. And basically 2 layers of waves, and just really well executed and stamps really nicely. So let me show you how that works. First of all, because we'll be putting some pressure on the clay, you do not want to do this directly on your tabletop or on a really shiny board. the clay will probably stick to the board and you'll have to kind of peel it off. So make sure you have either cornstarch powder on your table or just a piece of paper down in order for it not to stick. When you get a tile, it's probably going to be kind of rudimentary in how it's been cut out. And one of the things I really ask you guys to do this semester is really pay attention to close details. So, clean up the surface a little bit before you get going. Smooth out any kind of defects you see on the surface using a rib tool. Clean up the edges. Make sure it's square. Basically, just do a pro job. Paying attention to detail is one thing that will be really important in this class. And it basically separates you from, frankly, having kind of a high school looking project to a professional project. So we'll pay a lot of attention to making things look good. Okay, I'll be stamping on here, so I'm not going to do a lot more than that. The shape will probably change a little bit as we stamp anyway, so we'll clean up some more when we're done. All right, hopefully you can see this. I'm going to take this roller now, and if your clay is really wet, you can put a little WD-40 on here, and not much, just wipe around your finger. And what that will do is keep it from sticking. You can also use pan cooking spray or anything like that. My clay that I'm working with here dried up a little bit. I had someone interrupt me this morning and I kind of got talking to him while this was sitting out. So the clay's a little bit dry, so I'm pressing fairly hard. But if your clay is, judge how wet your clay is and how hard you have to press. So that's the wave design. A few things about stamps that this will be a good example. The stamp has to be reversed in two ways. One is obviously it'll be reverse print. So for example, here's an E that's backwards in the stamp that will print the right way on the clay. And then secondly, it reverses in the fact that if it's sticking out in the stamp, it's going to stick in the clay. If it's sticking in the stamp, it will stick out. Did I just say that twice? You get the point. It reverses itself. And so here the design is actually indented or dug into the clay. You'll notice that when I stamp this one, this will stick out. In order to reverse my design, what I normally do is go to the light table or just stick it on the window with the design facing outward, trace the design on the back side of the paper, and that's what I transfer to my piece. All right, my favorite one to fly. And we'll fit one more, just this random texture. So these are available to you in the clay tools. There's honestly probably 100 of them at this point. And you can use these in conjunction with your own design. And love it if you made your own. All right, so all that stamping now, because I had to put a lot of pressure, definitely changed my size here. So I'm going to put my template back on here, recut that out. And so stamps actually have some limitations in working with them. Mostly you're going to have to apply a stamp to a slab that's just able to sit on the ground because you need to put a lot of back pressure on it. It's very difficult to use a stamp on, say, a mug that you've thrown because you can put no back pressure on that, so it's difficult to get it going. So if you're going to make a cylinder from a slab, if you're going to take a slab and put it over a hump mold or slump mold, all those things that start as a slab that you can work on with the stamp first and then apply the design or finish it that way, construction. The stamps work great for that, but don't work great for projects that are kind of already assembled. So just that attention to detail, clean up my edges a little bit. You're going to flip over your piece, write your name on the back, or at least initials, and hour would be fantastic. And this piece will go in the calendar when you're done. So there's making a personalized roulette for your piece. Have fun.